Welcome to week 4 lecture. Today we're gonna have an overview of week 3 discussion forum postings and group 4's presentation and readings, and group 5 the presentation has not been submitted on our e-class, so I will do a brief lecture on the 2 readings that group 5 was assigned. But for I have been teaching these culture courses for a number of years, but not finding a group presentation that was supposed to be submitted. This is my first time, so I wonder what happened to group 5 and how come I didn't get any email from any of the group 5 members, and also I don't know, you maybe submitted into a wrong submission link or not, but I have no idea. I would say it's very unusual and an exceptional case. And, there will be a brief conclusion after that. So group 1's first question asks us the angel praise. Is it an admiration or Eurocentric beauty standard, right? Many students argue that sincere admiration can still reinforce Eurocentric beauty norms, beauty standards, and the praise often centers features associated with whiteness, such as pale skin or blonde hair, right? And terms like angelic draws on Western symbolic frameworks rather than Korean cultural context. So overall, the angel praise often blends genuine fandom with Eurocentric beauty hierarchies. And the second question by group 1, does the intent matter more than impact in reaction videos? Many students argue that impact matters more than the intent because of the structural power and global visibility. And white reactors are often positioned as cultural authorities, even though they have limited cultural knowledge. Even unintentional bias can normalize Western-centric readings for global viewers. So students emphasize that structural power amplifies impact beyond the creator intent. And question 1 by group 2 asked how Black fans contribute to polycultural understanding. And students highlighted Black fans' ability to recognize hip-hop and R&B influences in K-pop. And these reactions challenge narratives of K-pop as inauthentic or just imitating, right? And the reaction videos function as informal cultural education for wider audiences. Overall, students viewed Black fandom as central to polycultural interpretation of K-pop. And the second question by group 2 about cross-racial solidarity or short-term excitement, in terms of the fan engagement, right? Many argue that fandom has potential for solidarity but does not guarantee it, and the visibility of Asian culture does not equal racial justice or solidarity. And solidarity requires critical engagement beyond enjoyment or trend. So students concluded that solidarity emerges only through sustained critical engagement. And the first question by group 3 asked, whether appreciation can exist under Western judgment. Many students argued Western standards limit genuine appreciation, and terms like weird or too feminine position Western norms as default or standard, right? And reflexivity and self-awareness were seen as necessary for appreciation. Overall, students agreed appreciation framed by Western norms remains partial and conditional. So the second question by group 3 was, where is the line between humor and disrespect, right? And Jungkook rightly pointed out, humor becomes disrespectful when it reinforces power hierarchies, and also humor can mask Orientalism and cultural superiority. And intent does not erase harm when privilege structures the joke, right? And overall, students frame the line as crossed when humor reproduces hierarchy rather than solidarity. So let's move on to Group 4's presentation. Group 4 worked with two readings, one by Lai and second one by Kim, right? Overall, this was a strong presentation, and what stood out is that they did not treat BTS as a fan story or a simple success story. Instead, they treated BTS as a structural example of how global pop music has changed, and that is exactly what these readings ask us to do. So Group 4 did several things very well. First, they correctly explained what Lai means by the highest stage of K-pop. This does not mean leaving the idol system. This means surpassing the idol system from within. Second, they clearly showed how platform changes like streaming and social media reshaped global success following Kim's argument. And importantly, they avoided a common mistake. They did not explain BTS's success only through language or their talent or just pure marketing, right? And the internal and external connection section was really well done. Internally, they clearly linked Lai's reading to O's article from week 3 and linked Kim's article to Keith's article from the same week, right? And the external connections, they draw on the industry data, some statistics, and a particular YouTube video. Those helped effectively support the main argument. And in terms of the delivery, the PowerPoint slide was really well made, and I can see that a lot of efforts were put in. They put, this moving images, and they made different windows, right? And then the talking head windows, and they even added the names under each member's talking, right? So it was really well made, and some slides maybe slightly too busy, but maybe it's the style of the slide. And which may work as well as the less busy slide. And delivery was fair, right? And then there were 3 members, and I see one member was trying to make it more like a presenting than just reading, and the other 2 were more like making like a reading, right? So I know you cannot avoid reading some scripts, but do your best to present as like you're presenting instead of reading. But I could see Group 4 definitely paid attention to what I said in last week's lecture and reflect what I said or incorporated what I said into their presentation, which was really good. And they had clear intro and conclusion sections. And group member was introduced at the beginning. I think the introduction, after that, the introduction to the presentation itself was a little bit too long. It didn't need to be that long, right? You can move on to make your introduction brief and then move on to the main argument, right? And overall, if you more traditional works would have been better. But thank you for submitting your presentation. It was a wonderful work. Okay, so the discussion questions Group 4 posed. First question on legitimacy works very well, and it is clearly grounded in Lai's argument. And instead of asking whether BTS is successful or not, it asks who defines value and legitimacy in global pop today, right? So this question moves the discussion from opinion to theory. And the second question on language and platforms is also well connected to Kim's reading. It correctly recognizes the streaming and idol global platforms changed the conditions for non-English music, right? But I think rather than framing the question as, lyrics or language versus identity, it could be more, it could have been better to focus on Kim's key ideas or concepts like platform circulation, performance, and fan labor. But overall, these questions were strong and reading-based questions. And just going further, building on Group 4's work, they showed clearly that legitimacy has shifted. And in the past, legitimacy often came from Western institutions like American music chart or radio or critics, right? But now the next question is, as also the discussion question 1 kind of asked, who defines legitimacy today, right? Is it still Western centered or anything has moved, right? Or is it fans who stream and promote? Is it platforms and algorithms that decide visibility? Is it industries or even governments, right? So who's giving this authority, right? Or legitimacy, right? The key point is that legitimacy does not disappear. It is reorganized under platform capitalism, meaning platforms now play a major role in deciding value. So let's push Kim's argument a bit further. Platforms help music travel globally very fast. Like for example, the YouTube platform, right? That is very empowering. But platforms are not neutral. They rank content, reward certain fan behaviors, and often benefit already popular artists, right? So for example, algorithms often promote what is already trending. This means inequality can be reproduced, not removed. Only the popular ones can get more views, right? So BTS's case shows both empowerment and constraint. Platform power opens doors, but it also sets new limits. So now let's move on to readings for group 5, right? Here the focus shift again. We are no longer only talking about music or industry. Now we are asking, what does BTS global visibility do politically and culturally? And this is where terms like transnational cultural power become important. Here, transnational means power that crosses national borders. The core focus here is fandom, digital power, and cultural diplomacy. And Jin's article warns us not to romanticize fandom too much. Fans can mobilize online, but not all fandom have the same resources or organization. Fan activism often depends on platforms. It can be powerful but also temporary. For example, trending a hashtag is not the same as changing laws, right? This creates a key tension, which is cultural influence does not automatically become structural political change. And the Keith reading changes the focus from fans to the state. Keith argues that BTS functions as a cultural ambassadors, even if they did not choose that role. It's not, maybe it may not be their intention, but they, because of their, global fame, they are now acting as like cultural ambassadors. Their success becomes part of South Korea's soft power, which means influencing through culture, not force. For example, BTS is used in national branding, speeches, and diplomacy. And Keith shows that popularity can be taken up and managed by government. And the final thoughts about these two readings assigned to group 5. When you combine Jin and Keith, those two readings, we see two directions of power. One from below, there is fan participation and activism, and the other one from above, there is state recognition and appropriation. So BTS's transnational power exists between these two forces. And this makes their case complex, not simply empowering or exploitative. And in conclusion, Group 4 showed how BTS redefined global legitimacy through platforms and fandom. And Group 5's readings showed how this cultural power expands into activism and state soft power. And the main takeaway is BTS's global success is not just about music. It helps us to understand how culture, platforms, fandom, and the state are being reorganized in the global pop system. Okay, so this is it for today's lecture, and thank you so much for your attention.